So, welcome to round two of the Vision Summit. Yesterday, we were talking about redefining success and what that meant in terms of going from one version of success, which is about status and achievement and kind of these external measures, to something more felt and more sustainable from our point of view, and requires a bit of introspection and working from the inside out. Today, we're going to start talking about stories, which is the second part, ironically, of our Vision 2020 program, and using stories in various ways. I would say to first create meaning for ourselves, and secondly, to create connection and to understand not only the people we want to serve, but our role in whatever else they want to achieve. And so we're going to talk a bit about that, talk about how we help people craft stories, and maybe, well, I hope, share some of our own stories. But before we start off with that, I thought I'd like to share a little video that Lawrence alluded to on LinkedIn today. It's a bit of a video with Seth Godin talking about this idea of stories and how stories can mobilize people into action. In this video, this is an excerpt of him talking about how you use stories in political movements, but he also talks about how we can use stories in all walks of life and how we've adopted this approach in terms of business and change making. So it's just a 2-minute video. So welcome to the stage, our good friend, Mr. Godin.
If you can earn the trust and attention of just a small percentage of the people, not only will they eagerly show up, they will bring their friends. Marshall Ganz is a professor at Harvard. Marshall has a 3-step process. Here it is. And it works for everybody, not just politicians. Story of self, which means testify. Why are you here? Story of us, meaning why is my story your story? That's the hardest part. And then story of now. Why should you care today, not tomorrow? So your job, who wants to change something, who doesn't have more money, right, is to figure out story of self, story of us, story of now. Earn permission to talk to people. Earn permission to email people who want to hear from me on a regular basis to educate them in a way that they can convert their friends. That costs zero. And if you can do that and do that and do that, you will win in a landslide if your story resonates, right? The job that each of us have if we want to heal our culture is not to do it necessarily in an annual march, but to do it over lunch, 1 person at a time, 3 people at a time, 5 people at a time. And the biggest marketing lesson I will share with you tonight is 7 words. People like us do things like this. And that is what the definition of culture is, right? So Chelsea and her partner are here. They make the most beautiful stationery in America. It's not for everybody. It's for almost nobody. But the people it's for are people who know that when they send out a thank you note on this letterhead or a wedding invitation, it will go to people who say, oh, you're people like me, because people like us buy stuff like this. And the same thing's true when you're selling real estate, and the same thing's true when we're trying to run for something.
Where would you like to take that next? Anyone who wants to what was resonating right now?
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Yeah, well, thank you, Lana. Makes a change. I shared about that post, that video, because it really struck a chord with me when I first heard that line, because it's so simple but so profound in its simplicity. I think the thing that resonates with me when he talks about that is just this idea, when he just said this business that this lady's creating is almost for no one. And that's like totally goes against what most people think of when they think of a new idea, is like, this could be for everyone. I want to change the world. I want to make impact with a big I. I want to spread this to everyone, when actually, that's probably ego talking. It's not realistic. So it probably isn't for everyone, whatever we're trying to do. Even us with the Happy Startups course, trying to spread more positive impact. And so understanding that actually there's a subculture of people that you can attract, a small niche that's authentic to you and your story. And maybe eventually you can reach more people, but not losing sight of the people who are actually like you, who are out there trying to do similar things to you. So just that instant connection of starting with that tiny little group of people who are feeling the feelings that you're feeling about a struggle that they might be facing.
Yeah. Every time I watch this video, I really feel a lot of validation. Because like what you said, Lawrence, like contemporary marketing and entrepreneurship would say, hey, you need to cast a very wide net and then see who would buy from you, who would follow you. And social media has been the same, right? Of like, hey, get as many followers. Yet for me, I remember a few years ago, I really wanted to think of life as a deepening rather than a casting of a very wide net. And this video really speaks to me, at least, that aspect of, how can I deepen the impact? How can I deepen the work that I'm doing with people who I like doing it with and who also resonate with it? And going against the grain of what we were taught and what we know from business school or entrepreneurship and things like that, it can be very challenging, right? So there's a lot of resistance of, oh, am I doing it right or not? So for me, when I watch that video, it's such a big relief and a validation that, hey, doing it like this, how we're reaching out and connecting and nurturing relationships with those whose stories speak to us and those who resonate with our values, our vision, our work, is an important part of deepening those connections.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Lana. I think what I've come to learn and understand about this approach, this story of self, story of us, story of now, this idea of kind of tribe building, which Seth Godin is a big advocate of, people like us, this kind of sense of connection. It makes a lot of sense when I think about this idea of effortless impact, this idea of how can I create transformation by being me? Because this whole idea of story of self, what is the journey that I've been on? What are the transformations that I've experienced? How have I accomplished that? What is it that I have lived that I can pass on as learnings? Is core to this idea of story of self, story of us. And the challenge I think a lot of people face, because so many of us, particularly if you've been doing your work for a while and you are a soul-driven entrepreneur rather than just a profit-driven one, there are things that you wish you want to share, but you are scared. You don't want to because there's a sense of shame, imposter syndrome, as opposed to leaning into your story so much more and uncovering the gold in there that could be of benefit to others. And also not being so focused on, like Lawrence was saying, on the scale and on the breadth, but more like Lana was saying, on the depth and on the actual impact, the actual visible in front of your eyes, which is something I'm much more keen on experiencing. Having that in mind when you're thinking about your business, rather than nail it and scale it and get as many people to do the thing, the 6-point plan, as you can.
Well, the thing that comes up for me is something we come up against a lot is just not valuing stories enough. I think, focusing on the thing, focusing on the product or the business, the idea, this is something I want to bring to the world. And the fascinating thing is we're always interested in other people's stories, but I think most people think that no one's going to be interested in my story. Again, something we come up against with people is trying to help them surface that story, but also to see the value in sharing it, because it can be a vulnerable place, can't it? When we're like think, well, no one cares about this. Why would they care about this? But I'd love you to tell, I'd love you to tell me your story. You should tell more people about that. So yeah, I think this is where the power of the community comes in. Having people around you who we can see the benefit of sharing stories and finding those connection points as well. And like you said, even if I'm not someone who's going to be part of your audience, I can be a supporter and connect with that story and then share that story more than I can if you just want to sell something. People share stories, and again, lots of great examples of that in, is it Stories That Stick, a book? I can't remember, something like that. Anyway, but yes, this idea that we remember stories, we don't remember products necessarily. So understanding that stories spread way quicker than any other form of communication.
Yeah. And this also connects me with Rumi's words of the wound is where the light enters you, and how powerful it is when we can share with people how we're navigating our lives, our path. And in Paro, I remember an elder of mine shared the hermit can be a very lonely place, because what you're actually trying to do is you're holding the light for others to follow. And I see that, for storytellers, for bridge builders, for change makers, that is basically why sharing our stories are very important, because it tells people, hey, this is the path that we've gone through. This is how we've navigated it. It might be for you, it might not be for you, but at least there's a guidance that they can follow. And most of the time, this is like what Rumi said. It's coming from the wounds, it's coming from the struggles, it's coming from the life challenges, it's coming from those unpredictable moments that takes us out of our comfort zone. And then what, right? So like what Carlos already mentioned, these are the moments where we know that we cannot just do it on our own. So having a community, having others around us, looking for inspiration, looking for people who we can be in community of practice with, these are all parts of how we can amplify the work.
There's I think there's a couple of elements here in this idea of using stories within our work. One is a kind of very personal, felt sense, meaning making level, which is one aspect of what we do on Vision 2020. And then there's also a practical element, I would say, in terms of how we can use stories to sell, not just sell to make money, but to sell an idea, to sell motivation, to sell momentum in terms of trying to mobilize people into action. And I really, well, when we talk about the inside out approach to our work, I think it's really important for us to have a framework to be able to tell a story of why we're doing what we're doing. This whole, why are we building the Happy Startup School? It isn't just about money, but there can be a mess of thoughts and feelings in there. And for me, storytelling is a skill as well. That while it's a natural mode of communication that we've developed over millennia, you know a good storyteller, and someone who just bombards you with information. And this is where I struggled in the past with storytelling, because I used to think storytelling, there was a lot of stuff that was made up, but it was edited. I think this is the aspect of this. This is really important, is how you think about stories, not purely as a dump. This is it. Every single element is like how you edit it, as a way to create some kind of change in someone else, whether that's an emotional change or that's a motivational change in terms of they get mobilized into action, which is, I think, what Seth Godin was trying to allude to. And so that's the practical element that I feel of storytelling, as well as this. What we've found within a small group of people when we're coaching them, when we're able to share some vulnerable stories, how that really creates a sense of connection, a kind of real safe, supportive environment, so that we can do some of the more challenging things, and we can start sharing some of these other stories with more people that initially can feel too vulnerable and too risky at the beginning.
And also telling stories of the future that are maybe make-believe, or make-believe in terms of they haven't happened yet, but they are believable in terms of we want them to happen, or we want people to come on that journey with us. And I think that's something that people often struggle with, is painting a picture of the future and telling stories to do that. And that's one of the things that I believe helped us grow our community in the early days, was telling those stories of what we were creating, even if it hadn't happened yet. Well, it hadn't happened yet. It was all make-believe in some ways, but it was exciting enough for us to share it, and also exciting for us to eventually commit to it. But there's an element of, I hope this happens, but it may not. But who's with me? And that's the thing about why now. Who's with me? Who needs this? Who wants to come on this journey and co-create it together as well, not do it alone.
I like the field of possibilities that we open when we're in the space of storytelling, and also tuning into the future. While you were talking, Lawrence, it reminded me of the time before I met Carlos, and I knew there was I forgot exactly who sent it to me, but the person mentioned about the canvas that you've created and the Happy Festo, so I was just like, oh, these are amazing individuals. And then a couple of months after, I met you, Carlos, with the community builders group in Facebook. And then a couple of months after, we've worked together. And then another couple of months after, the three of us started collaborating for Vision 2020. And this is the power of the story, right? If I think about my own personal journey with how I got connected with the two of you, it is because of that story. The stories that you've shared, and how it resonated with me, and how it gave me the impression of, hey, these are interesting individuals that I would like to get to know more, that I would like to be inspired by, that I would like to be connected with. And this is the possibilities that open up, because there's so much resonance and there's so much care that is involved in the connection, that it's also easy then to collaborate. And I think this is one part of entrepreneurship that is not, it's not often seen, because we're often thinking about customers, but collaborators, getting into collaborations is actually a very good way of amplifying impact. And for me, this is how I got to say, hey, I would love to work with the two of you, because I knew your story. I read, I was following your stories.
You were stalking us.
Stalking you, yes.
I think this is a part of our story. I would say the Happy Startup School, particularly at the beginning, as Lawrence said, is like he did a lot of writing, a lot of sharing, just the perspectives and thoughts and ideas and possibilities and wishes for how we could work and how we could do business and how we could connect. people. So it was less of here's my 6-step plan. This is like nearly my 6 wishes. Like this is what would it be like if we could do stuff like this? And then there's this other aspect around storytelling that I think you can't. They say good stories are told by good storytellers, and I think good stories are told by people who step into the unknown. Because if nothing ever changes in your life, you never have a new story to tell. But unless you try something different, do something that's outside of your comfort zone, follow that dream, follow that question, play with this idea, and potentially fail, and potentially find a struggle, and potentially hit an obstacle, and see how you can get over it. Without that, there's not many stories that you can tell. And so it's finding ways to I say accept that call to adventure that doesn't put you into panic mode, but maybe puts you into a more purposeful mode of like, okay, I wonder what if.
Mm-hmm. Well, also it's about, like you said, just the practice. Like you get better at writing by writing, you get better at telling stories by telling stories. I think it is something I was never a writer, but I've learned to really enjoy it just through the practice of it and the clarity it helps me find by trying to verbalize or articulate what I'm thinking. I think the other aspect to it is stories don't have to be told just through words. Like you talked about the tools we've created, like the story of change we may talk about if we get chance, but the canvas, the manifesto we created, like turning these stories into thingifying, as we say, is a powerful way to get your story to spread, maybe quicker than you would do in a blog post or an ebook or an article. So creating tools, creating assets, graphics, videos, media that help to spread your stories is another way to bring it to life. Cool. More crowdcast wizardry.
So this is just a way to illustrate, I think, how you can make sense of your story and to, like I was saying at the beginning, rather than it to be kind of some splurge of just information, because stories aren't just information. Stories are about transformation, and they're about showing a pathway through a situation or a challenge. And what we've done is we try to give people who join our program a structure just to help make sense of the stories. And there's various ways you can think about this structure. There is the structure to use it to make sense of how you got to where you are now, to give a sense of an understanding of why am I doing the work that I'm doing. There's also a structure for you to motivate you into the future. Like, where am I now and where do I want to be? And what is it that I need to commit to in order to make this happen? And what's motivating me to actually make a change? And then there's a structure that you can use for your potential customers so that you can understand where you fit into their lives. And so where are they now? Where do they want to be? And what is it that what are the obstacles that are getting in the way? What do they need to commit to? And how can you be of service in that transformation? What is it about your story and what you've learned that can help them overcome obstacles on their journey? So I'm not going to go into too much detail in this because we could spend a day workshopping stories and how to use this canvas, but it just gives you a kind of a visual clue as to how you can break down what can feel like a messy soup of thoughts, feelings, and facts into what feels like an articulation that other people can understand and can share and do something with. So I don't know if there's anything here. Lana, do you want to?
I would like to also emphasize that in doing the story of change canvas, especially the looking back, it allows us to honor our history. It allows us to honor our experiences, and it might not be, we might think, oh, it's not the big thing, but actually it is. So whenever we celebrate our success, whenever we celebrate the strengths that we have, and acknowledge them, we're actually rewiring our brains as well, because our brains are so wired to see things that, the messed up part. It's quick for us to see the things that were wrong, and it's very difficult for us to think of the things that are strong. And for me, in doing the story of change canvas, it really helps me to look at and see, oh, wait a minute, these are areas of growth. These are areas where I shifted my perspectives. These are areas where I recalibrated. And because I'm doing that, I'm actively rewiring how my brain is looking and picking up on these cues, so that the next time that I'm in a situation, it's easier for me to harness them. So it's not just about reflecting, but it's actually embodying it to the point that our nervous system remembers.
I think the other aspect to this, we found working with people who may be feeling a bit stuck or in a bit of a struggle at the moment, wanting to be somewhere different, but not being able to move forward, is just giving ourselves credit for some of the changes we may have made in the past. So this feeling of, you've probably done this before, you've been through transitions or change before in your own journey, and this can be a powerful tool, I think, to help people realize that they have navigated change successfully in the past. They've done difficult things, and actually to feel resilient enough to then move forwards. Yeah, I think most people I know, and I'm probably guilty of this too, is we just look at what we haven't done rather than the things we have done, looking at that big gap rather than the gain of where we've been. So again, a powerful tool to feel more resourced, really, as well as to then do the same for our customers too, or collaborators, understanding their own journey.
Yeah, I also wanted to kind of share like a practical way of using this tool. Let's see if I can get it shown. There we go. I'm going to do it solo. If I was thinking about, I actually find this useful when it comes to selling not to convince people, but selling in the sense of actually what Ted Hargrave says, of getting to the truth, and using it as a conversational framework of like, where are you now? What is the current situation? Whether you're bored with the way you're working, or you're burnt out by always being on a treadmill, there's a lacking a sense of meaning or impact. The money is great, but for some reason it's just something is missing. And then that's what's driving this change now. It's like this pivot point of like, actually, do I want to continue on this path, or do I want to try something new? And for a lot of the people we work with, there's this real realization that time is finite. There's only so much time left. I really want to do something about it, but something gets in their way. And it's like understanding, what is it that gets in your way? And again, in this conversation, to be like, actually, I'm quite comfortable where I am now. It's uncomfortably comfortable. The money's good, but yeah, I don't want to risk anything. And there's this real kind of mindset shift that's required. And if that mindset shift, if the curiosity, the drive for change doesn't overcome the obstacle, then in a sense, in this sales conversation, you say, well, we're not ready to work with each other now. Maybe this is time for you to wait, or I can tell you a bit more what's possible. And then you can start understanding, what is it that you believe you need help with? and they can start start listing all these things, and you can start helping them understand, all right, what is it that's really needed right now, and what is it that you need to commit to. And ultimately, what you can help with as someone who wants to create transformation, particularly beneficial transformation, is help them understand, where do you actually want to be? What is that picture of possibility? Because if that isn't clear as well, you're trying to convince someone to do something they don't want to do, and then they're not going to be motivated to do. And so being able to use stories, not only in terms of trying to create meaning for ourselves, but also in terms of trying to help other people understand how to motivate their way to work, or to do the actions to make the changes they want to make. And what I'm going to try and do is see if I can bring us all on stage again. There we go.
I can see me. I think you guys are hanging in the wing. There we go. Boom, boom.
Cool. If you have any questions, please share them in the chat, or if there's something that you would you have a comment, we'd love to sort of like pick that up and run with it. Lana or Lawrence, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I'm just celebrating the comment from Anthony of eager to start writing down my story. So go for it. And
Yeah, I'm curious to
if
read.
you're sharing it in LinkedIn, tag us.
Exactly. Yeah, as we say, just start working out loud. Don't hide away with these stories. Start to share them early, before you're ready.
Cool. Okay, before we close off, any stories you want to share before we talk about what's going to happen next?
Well, I'm just reminded of whenever we do this story of change, the ahas that we get in our Vision 2020 program. And one of the things that really stood out for me is around the understanding the resistance and how deep the resistance can be. And we've had multiple in the in at least in the cohorts in my buddy group, where actually it's not about the experiences but their resistance to sharing their story, to putting it out there. That was very fascinating to navigate and also to give space for. So for me, there's a very powerful way to look at it, is whenever you do something like this, an exercise like this, the resistance is where the work needs to be. So whenever you're like, oh, I don't want to work on this part, it's showing you already that that's the work that's needed to be addressed.
Yeah. For me, there's something there about more layers. You talk about unraveling the layers a lot, unpeeling the onion. That feeling of sometimes when we are on our own, I think we can scratch the surface and play it too safe. But I think there's often real value and connection, as you said, through sharing these deeper stories of what's important to us, and even our own past as well. And there's so many examples I can think of, probably too many to share now, of people who've come on the program and, like I said, thought their story is not important, and then over time, by sharing it safely with others, that encouragement then brings out this goldmine of ideas and possibilities. So yeah, not underestimating the power of your own story to not just help you, but also connect you to others, and that's the key thing. Like you said, we wouldn't have met you. I still these days meet people who said they saw something we put out years ago, and that A, helped them, and B, led them to us. So yeah, it's a superpower for connection, I think.
There's I was reminded by someone in our community called Matt Matheson about this 2 Greek words to define time. One is chronos, and the other is kairos. And as I understand it, chronos is this kind of perspective of time as this sequential series of events, this kind of ticking off of seconds, minutes, hours, weeks, years, that gives this sense of, I would say, scarcity around time. And then this other idea of kairos, which is our experience in the moment, this lived, felt sense of living, just like being and really enjoying what's happening or experiencing life to its fullest. And I feel with stories and storytelling and discovering what is it the story you want to tell, and how do you author the story of the rest of your life so it becomes an experience to be had rather than basically waiting till the end of days. That is such a profound shift, I think. And I think that's what I've seen, the qualitative aspect of doing this work in terms of the people who come on the program. I'm thinking at the moment, Beth Derry, sharing her very vulnerable story around self-harm and how she's harnessed that as the work she wants to do now to help others who experience this, not only young women, but also their parents, and how that's added another quality to her work and her life that when you play it safe, you won't necessarily see. And so I think this is work not just about the money. This isn't just about let's create a business that we can scale. This is about how can I shift how I work that makes me feel more energized to turn up every day. And I hope that
tomorrow is going to be all about how you can make loads of money and scale and sell your story.
Well, this is the thing. It's like we're trying to take a very balanced and nuanced view on this idea of how to build a business. We could easily can scaremonger into just focusing on the money, giving you a very simple step-by-step approach to then just focus on marketing and selling. We want to talk about building a business as a process of self-discovery, a spiritual journey, a journey of transformation at a personal level. And we are very clear and understand that you also need to pay the bills. But we want you to be able to pay the bills and make money that isn't just about selling your time, that doesn't just burn you out because you are working every hour of the day. How can you use your story, use your knowledge, use your experience, and turn those things into products? And also to deliver the value that you want to create for others in different ways, to create a portfolio business, to make happy money. And we're going to talk a bit more about that tomorrow. And this is essentially how we've designed our business. So we're going to share about what we've done, how it works for us, and how you can take that perspective. And hopefully for those of you who use your knowledge and wisdom to create transformation, how you can do that at a distance, at scale, that doesn't feel like a slog. So hopefully see you there. Enjoy lunchtime, both for you, Lawrence and Lana. Thank you very much for joining us live. And catch you later. Take care.
See you soon. See you tomorrow, hopefully.
See you tomorrow.